is a former Chicago public school financial literacy teacher and school counselor who is now an implementation specialist at EVERFI. He trains and provides ongoing support to educators across Illinois as they implement EVERFI's no-cost resources. Darren feels passionately about equipping every student with the real-world skills they need for lifelong success. Welcome, Darren. And I'm Linda, your webinar facilitator. I'll be behind the scenes, making sure that everything runs smoothly, as well as interacting with you in the chat. So let's get started.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be joining you here today, and thanks for tuning in. I know it's late today, but hopefully you had a great day at school, and just ready to learn more about our awesome resources over here at EVERFI. So right now, I do have a QR code here on the screen. So if you go ahead and scan that, or click on the link that I'm about to put here into the chat. That will allow you to just connect with us. I will follow up with an email personally to you all who does fill that out. That way I can send you over some of these helpful resources that I mentioned. And if you are watching the recording of this, feel free to also scan that QR code and I will make sure I follow up as well. So I'll give you all just a second here to do that. And all it does ask you for is your email. So, I'll follow up again with those additional resources, and I'm happy to answer any questions at that point as well. Okay, I will continue to move through here, but that link is there in the chat as well. So if you haven't already, feel free to go ahead and put into the chat what is your role/title, and then just like what you hope to learn from today's session. And I would try to make sure that I address those, desired skills and strategies. And while you all are doing that, I'll go ahead and just kind of introduce myself here a little bit more. I do have a slide for that, but just for the sake of time, like I already said, my name is Darren Scott. I am an implementation specialist here at EVERFI. I'm a former classroom teacher and school counselor in the Chicago public schools who used EVERFI with my students. So, hopefully some of the tips and strategies that I mentioned today will be ones that you also find to be beneficial and needed. I currently live in Indianapolis, Indiana. And so after teaching in CPS, moved over here to Indiana. The link does not work. We tried it before. Let me put that in there again. And Cam, I'll also send it over to you too. So if you wouldn't mind just checking it there on your end. Cool. Well, we will make sure that we get that straightened out there. Apologize if that link is not working. All right. Do have my colleague Cam there in the chat as well. So we'll kind of tag team today and make sure that you guys are having a good experience. Here's my little intro page. I always like to include a super cute picture of my son there. I am a big gardener, so that was a few months ago whenever we had, getting some good veggies off. But, now that it's winded down and feeling like winter, not getting as much stuff off of there. But, still fun little hobby. So looking at just kind of like a rundown of what we are going to be covering today, not going to necessarily spend the exact amount of time that's in there. I always like to spend the most time within our demo, just so you can see the platform, make sure that you can see exactly what you would see whenever you hop into our dashboard to go ahead and set up your classes and get started with your students. But then I'll also kind of cover some different strategies to utilize. I'll definitely give you some time to also explore around in our platform if you'd like. And then we will have time for Q&A. Feel free at any point today, feel free and go ahead and put in any questions that you might have there in that comments section. And I'll make sure that I address those as well. Okay, if you wouldn't mind, just kind of let me know where you're at on your EVERFI journey from 1, this is the first time I've heard of it, all the way up to 3. I use EVERFI all the time. So go ahead and just put that there into the chat so I'm clear on kind of where you're at this point. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Ben. And I'll make sure there's a little bit of something for everybody. So even if you are a newcomer to EVERFI or you're a seasoned vet, I'll throw in some tips along the way to make sure that it's most beneficial for everyone. All right. So continue to put those in. If you haven't shared already, feel free to continue to put that there in the chat. Just letting me know kind of where you're at with utilizing EVERFI. So a little bit of a background on us. So we are always free, absolutely no cost to any school district, any teacher, students, anything like that. You will never pay any money to us. Our ongoing support is also entirely free. And the way that we can do that is through our generous sponsors, some of which you do see on your screen right here. So like, for example, our accounting careers course is sponsored by the Council for Audit Quality. And they are sponsoring that accounting careers course. And so they're able to provide the course and also a scholarship for you all. So pretty cool opportunity there. Also in Illinois specifically, our Vaping Know the Truth course is sponsored by the Illinois Attorney General. So there will also be a scholarship opportunity that I'll mention later on, where we will be awarding out 10 different $3,000 scholarships across the state that your students would be eligible to apply for. So that's just specifically for Illinois. Very cool opportunity. And then also we have a couple courses that are also sponsored by the NFL. So that sometimes, gets students fired up too, to see those logos show up. But I'll mention it also once we get into the dashboard and show you where you can see which sponsors you have for your area. So we do have a pretty expansive K-12 network throughout the United States, into Canada, Mexico, Puerto Rico. We're constantly expanding throughout the US in particular. Pretty crazy numbers in my mind here. 6.5 million student learners just last school year. So pretty amazing, our reach. I found it to be super helpful whenever I was teaching. That's why I was so interested in, coming back to EVERFI to work after I had moved. So, and I'll kind of dig a little bit deeper into why it can be such a valuable resource for you all as we get into the dashboard too. Awesome. Thanks, Cam, for putting that in there. Okay, so a little bit more about the content that we do offer. So as Linda had mentioned in that little intro there, we are really focused on helping to equip students with those real world skills. And this is, again, another reason why it appealed to me so much, is that these are actually topics that students do need during school, after they graduate from high school. Our biggest offering is going to be within financial education. But we also have a lot of other courses within health and wellness, workforce readiness, STEM and history, college and career readiness. And so you'll see a lot of those courses mentioned here today. And these can be really nice to either complement your existing curriculum, or in some cases, even be a standalone curriculum to utilize with your students. And really, our focus is on helping to address some of these more broad, like societal issues. And so you'll see a lot of those on here, where we do have courses that are addressing each of these issues that, I'm sure we're all somewhat familiar with, whether it's hearing it on the news or seeing it in our own classroom or hearing about it from, peers and stuff. All of our courses are going to be touching on these different issues here shown. Okay, within our courses, we're primarily used for our digital courses, which are going to be the kind of main talking point here. But we also do have additional supplemental and extension activities that are attached to every single one of our digital courses. And I'll show you where to find those within your dashboard. We do have a measurable impact where there's real-time grading that you can find within your gradebook. It's super helpful where it is just automatically graded there for you. You can go in, see where students are at within a specific lesson or within a specific course, see what scores they got on the different post assessments. Each lesson of each course will have a post assessment that's attached to it. We have a benchmark of 70% for those post assessments. Students can go in and retake that post assessment as many times as they'd like, and then they will get a certificate at the end if they do get at least a 70% or higher on every single post assessment. And then I mentioned a couple of the scholarships earlier, but we do have scholarships and contests ongoing throughout the school year, different opportunities that we may email you about, different webinar opportunities. A lot of times their sponsorship with the NFL will bring about some cool webinar opportunities that, I know they had one for like the Super Bowl typically, wherever the Super Bowl is located each year. Usually a team of ours will go there, do some different workshops with schools in the area, and then have a cool little webinar with some staff from the teams that are participating in the Super Bowl. So really cool things throughout the year, not just our digital courses, but like these cool little activities that your students can take part in. Okay, there are a lot of different ways to roll out our resources as well. Could be used as an extension activity where it's just kind of like a complementary piece to your existing curriculum, or maybe you see it as, maybe you want to set aside Fridays as kind of like that EVERFI day that you're going to focus on EVERFI courses. In my case, I did that a lot whenever I was teaching because Fridays were like kind of up in the air. There were maybe activity periods. There were different like group meetings where students would be getting pulled out periodically throughout the day. So it was easy for me to just set aside that Friday. Still, the students that were in my room on those days would still be engaging in this material that is also standard aligned. Also, it's not going to be, just like busy work. It's actually going to be getting helping them to like dig into topics that are super important for not only your class, but then also like life after high school as well, or, life after school. So you can also, divide it up and conquer where you have students maybe like choose a couple lessons that they're really interested in. You could have them break apart and, maybe work on courses in smaller groups. They could be also using it as just like independent work. In a lot of cases, centers, a lot of times feel like usually for like elementary or middle school students, it might work a little bit better where it's just like a rotation that you have students do along with maybe other like educational technology software. Like, sometimes we would use like IXL or Zern or stuff like that. So it could be used as another rotation piece within those. Here, just kind of like big picture, our courses that we offer. Again, we're going to see these once we get into the dashboard as well. I just put little bold outlines around some of our most popular courses. So for financial education, really most popular ones going to be Future Smart at our middle school level, which is very rare for middle school students to be getting any type of financial education. So this could be a really great one if you work with like grades 6 through 8 kiddos. We do also have Vault. That's just to the left of Future Smart. That's even for younger students. So grades 4 through 6 there. The one that says EVERFI, that's also bold there right here. that is probably our most popular course. That's going to be kind of like our financial education 101 at the high school level. So I would suggest always starting out with that one. Do also have the tax simulation. That one's super popular. There's sometimes in the past, there's been scholarships that's been attached to it. That one very much is going to look like you are doing your taxes online. It's going to look just like that whole, setup that you go through whenever you're doing your taxes online yourself. So that'll give students a little leg up to see that already. And then if we look over on the health and wellness side of things, character playbook and understanding mental wellness, really popular ones. If you guys have like maybe certain SEL time set aside that your classes cover, those could be really helpful ones to add in. Again, younger kiddos, we have those two Compassion Project courses for upper and lower elementary. Healthier Me. Ignition is focused on like digital safety and readiness. So, just helping students to understand, online navigation, safety habits and such. And then our vaping course is one of our most popular ones, specifically in Illinois. Again, a lot has to do with the scholarship that's attached to it. But then also tons of schools are seeing vaping becoming a bigger issue. And that course can be used in a great way as a preventative measure in like a whole class or small group setting. But then it can also be used as like a reactive tool as like an alternative to in-school suspension. Seen a lot of schools use that as well. And like a lot of these different ways of like implementing our courses. If you do have additional questions about it, I am going to have my calendar link later on in our presentation. And so I'm always happy to meet with you one-on-one if you want to talk a little bit more specifically about your setup and how you look to roll these courses out. I'm more than happy to assist with that as well. Okay, and then you can kind of see our workforce readiness and STEM and history courses as well. Again, kind of across all grade levels there. Even if you are, I've seen some, classes that are maybe like specifically titled like study skills or, even like homeroom. Even our EVERFI financial literacy for high school course can be a great one to fit in there because we have lessons on beginning employment, college ROI, looking at, again, like beginning tax documents whenever you're just starting a job. So those can be really cool ones just as like supplemental resources thrown in there that you're typically not going to get in a traditional curriculum in school. And then already kind of mentioned these here. So I know I've been talking a lot, so I want to now kind of shift gears and get you all looking at our platform here if you'd like. So if your school utilizes any single sign-on options like Clever or ClassLink, you guys can actually log into your Clever or ClassLink portal, and most likely you will be able to find the EVERFI app in there. There are some situations though where the EVERFI app has not been added either for your school or district. And so that would need to be added by like a technology coordinator or, a person who's overseeing Clever or ClassLink for your district, and they would be able to get that added. But this makes it super handy because you don't need to create an additional account and students wouldn't have to either. Again, you just log into Clever or ClassLink, click on the EVERFI app, and that's going to automatically log you in. Okay, even if your district or school does not have those single sign-on options, you can still set up an account from here. And so again, you can either scan that QR code or follow that link there, the everfi.com/new teacher. And that will take you to our registration page where you will be able to set up a teacher account. Okay, and I'll just give you a second here. Again, everything's entirely free. It's absolutely no cost. So if you sign up and you're like, nah, it's not for me, don't really see how this is going to be useful, totally fine to not use. I would love if you would reach out to me first, so that way I can make sure that, I address any questions that you might have, or like issues that you see with the curriculum, I'd love to be able to talk through those. But totally understand if you sign up and you're like, nope, don't want to do it. There's absolutely no obligation for you to do anything with our platform at that point. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go onto my teacher account here. Just make sure that, okay. All right, so once you do go ahead and create your account, your teacher dashboard for EVERFI is going to look just like mine here. So once you log in, it is going to take you to this My Courses tab. I always like to point out to educators, this is kind of like your favorites list. So this will be populated based on topics and grade levels you indicated you were interested in whenever you first created your account. Okay, so a lot of times, if you created your account a couple years ago and never really did anything with it, and now you're logging back in, probably don't even remember what topics maybe you chose there initially. So no problem at all. I usually like to spend most of my time over here in the Explore Courses tab. Okay, and the reason being, this is going to show all of our courses, no matter what topic area you chose initially. And from here, you can go ahead and scroll down to see our entire offering. Okay, to start off, I am going to go ahead and show you this feature here. It's pretty cool. About 29 of our courses do also have a Spanish option there. So if you have a lot of English language learners in your class or within your school building, and you want this as a feature, you definitely could do that. This will allow students to then change the language on their account, and they can do that just up here in the upper right-hand corner. So that makes it super handy where you're not having to go in and change the language for each individual student. Also, if there is a certain course that is not currently offered in Spanish, the in-browser translate features do work really well for our courses, where it would translate the words on the screen over to whatever language you choose. The only thing would be the embedded videos are not going to, of course, change over to that other language there. But from here, you can go ahead and start scrolling down and see all of our courses. Here is also where you're going to see who is sponsoring any of the courses at. So this one, for example, Character Playbook, my account technically is right now within the Illinois demo version there. So you're going to see the Bears logo. Yours may look a little bit different than mine, though, depending on where you're at within Illinois, because it is very much region-based, even in a state. So you can go ahead and continue scrolling through, and you have access to all of these courses. So even if you're teaching high school, but you see something that would be useful that's mentioned as a middle school course, totally fine. You still have access to it. If you happen to also see any courses that say request course, don't fear there. You can just go ahead and click that request course button, click request, and our team goes through and they approve all those requests on a daily basis. So we approve everything. So don't think that if you request it, you're going to get denied. We will approve that. So no worries on that. And so I'll go ahead and continue scrolling down. I'm going to go down to our vaping course so you can take a look at what that looks like. For any course that you want to know a little bit more information about, you can click on this details button. That will allow you to see short description of the course. Also, we do have US national standards embedded in here. They're linked right here where you can pull those up. We also do have specific state standards in many cases. We do have an Illinois health education standard alignment guide that I'll give you access to here in a bit as well. You can also see from here if this course is offered in Spanish as well. Another feature I would definitely recommend, again, for any course that you're interested in, is this preview button. This will allow you to see the course from the student perspective. So this can be really helpful whenever you are going in and you want to see, okay, what are students actually going to see whenever they go into this course? Our lessons will be very much kind of a mix of either text that students need to read. It's going to be some like multiple choice types of questions. It might be like opinion-based questions where, again, there's no like right or wrong answer to it. There could be embedded videos, embedded like real life scenarios in vaping. In this vaping course very much has a lot of like real life scenario based situations in there to like get students thinking and in those like personas perspective there. All of our courses do also have a narration component to them. So the text can be read out loud to students. They can also turn that off if they don't want that feature. Right now, I just have it muted, but they can also turn that off here as well. I'll go back here to, again, our details page. And within this course, there are 2 lessons that are also on cannabis use. So the other thing about our courses is they very much equip students with the skills to make informed decisions on their own. Does not go in and say like vaping's terrible, you should never do vaping. You know, it's not something like that. It's going to like just tell them point blank, because I know, you know, students are a lot of times going to push back whenever they hear that they should or shouldn't do something. This course very much goes in, helps them to get that knowledge about these topics, so that may, you know, that way they feel like they have a little bit more information to base their decision on. From here, you can go ahead and scroll down, and you'll notice this lessons tab. These are all like offline, supplemental, and extension activities that, you know, you can feel free to always utilize if you'd like. I always use these offline lesson plans as ways to get some like example bell ringer or exit ticket questions. I never would like necessarily go through these offline lessons like word for word or anything like that, but you definitely could if you wanted to. If I go back here, you will have the assessment keys there as well, where you'll be able to see those post-assessment keys and the answers to those. If you go underneath the resources tab, one thing I always like to point out, I always love a good Kahoot. So a lot of our courses do have Kahoots that are in here as well. So feel free, you know, pull these up. These are pre-made, ready to go, ready to roll with your students here, which again can be a big time saver. That's really what we hope to do, is to be able to equip you all with just some like pre-made, ready to go resources that you're not having to like recreate the wheel on or anything like that. Is we understand you guys have enough things to do within a school day. And so we are aiming to make your life a little bit easier with our resources here. And then under student activities, a lot of times this is going to consist of like student worksheets. Sometimes there will also be blank guided notes in there as well. So that's just going to vary from course to course, though, on what is actually available within this details page. Okay, so once you decide on some courses that you think you want to roll out with students, you can head over here to the My Classes tab, and you'll see, again, this is just my demo account. So any student information you see on here, they're all made up students. I actually had one of my colleagues who also somehow joined one of my classes on here. So you'll notice his name popping up a little bit too. Not entirely sure how he even got added, but, you know, hopefully he's like learning a lot while he's taking these courses. You can go ahead and click on the Create Class button right here. And then go ahead and, you know, name your class. Again, tons of different ways you could roll this out. You can actually see, you know, a lot of different ways that I've worded it here. But again, I know I mentioned this earlier, but a really cool way that I see a lot of schools utilizing our courses for alternatives to ISS. So, you know, you could put in school suspension as the name, and you could have this class ready to roll whenever students are about to come into your class or about to come into in-school suspension there. And then you could just hand over the class code for them to then get connected to it. Then you can go ahead and just click on that Add Courses button, and then scroll down and then find whatever course it is that you want to add to it. So, could be vaping, could be understanding mental wellness, might be, character playbook. Then you can go ahead and click the Save Selection button. Okay, then if you scroll back down here, you will see those courses that you did add in here. A relatively new feature that we did add on is this lock and unlock button here. So if you don't want students to see a specific course yet, you can actually just lock it for the time being. And then you want to come back in here and unlock it whenever you do want them to actually see the course and begin working on it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click that Create Class button then. Sometimes it does have these suggested courses pop up. You can go ahead and just click the X button though if you don't want to add it, and then click Create Class again. Okay, you will notice this little pop-up here. I usually just close it out because you can actually do these two things later on if you'd like. Usually don't recommend having or you creating the student accounts if you are like not using Clever or ClassLink as like single sign-on options. I usually recommend, if you're working with like middle school or high school students, it's a pretty simple process for them to create their account. So I usually recommend just setting aside like 5 to 10 minutes, walking through those steps with them, making sure that everybody gets in. And then you would want to give them this registration code as they are creating their accounts. So that is how they would then technically get enrolled in this class. You'll notice that the locked course there is showing up as being grayed out, just indicating that students are not going to be able to see this course once they get added to the class. If you want to go in and unlock it, you can go ahead and just click this Edit Class button, scroll back down, and then go ahead and unlock it. Okay, or lock it or add additional courses. You can do that all back on this screen again. And then again, just click Save. Get the little pesky suggested course pop up there, but you can just exit that out again and then click Save. And then you're ready to roll. Okay, once you start having students working on any of our courses, making a little bit of progress in here, you can go ahead and click on the gradebook. You would want to go ahead and search for a course that you have that progress in. You're not going to have all these courses show up. I just have it because I've created so many classes in here. And you'll notice you'll be able to see that student progress. And apologize, might be a little bit small on your screen, so I'll zoom in a little bit here. But you'll notice that each of these columns are going to be the lesson names within that course. You'll also notice that there are numbered scores here, either in green or red. So the green is just going to indicate again that they got a 70% or higher. 70% is kind of like our benchmark. So green, 70 or higher. Red, anything below 70%. Students, again, do have unlimited retakes on those post-assessments. They can go right back in the lesson, click the retake button, and take it again to try to improve their score. You can click on these scores to see what students got right or what they got wrong. This can be really nice to see, if there's any common questions that maybe students were missing, where you can then maybe address it as an entire class. You can also click on this edit button over here next to any of the students' names to see a little bit more information about how they're doing in here. You can see when they completed a post-assessment. You can also click on the little pencil icon to see if they've taken it more than once. And again, those dates and times that they took it. You can also go in here and edit the score. I utilize this whenever I had some students with different types of accommodations. Maybe they, they needed to do it like via paper and pencil with you, or maybe we discussed it with them verbally and you determined that they deserved a higher score. You could always go in here and add in that manual grade, and that will be updated in your grade book. It is only going to show the highest score. So even if I did do that at 90, it's still going to show up as 100 since, that's the highest score that they've gotten. Another cool thing about the grade book is if students do get a 70% or higher on each post assessment in a course, you'll notice this column over here. This is just going to show up as yes. So this is a certified column. It will change to yes, and a certificate will be generated for them in our system that I'll show you here in 1 second. You can also see where students are at within a specific lesson. So like in this case, you'll notice this says page 25 of 25. That just means that they are done with that lesson and about to go into the post-assessment. So that'll go ahead once they take the post-assessment for the first time, then that score on that post-assessment will then show up here. Whenever students do become certified, though, as I was mentioning, you can go over here to the Students tab to then access that certificate for the students that are certified. And here's my colleague Jesus there that's popping up that I mentioned. You can click on the select all button if you want to do it that way, or you can scroll down to find, the specific student that has been certified. And then you can go ahead and click that print certificates button, and a certificate will then pop up here on your screen. So that can be really cool to kind of celebrate that student learning. I feel like students at any age love a good certificate. So that can always be used as a tool there too. Mentions the course name, their name, and then also the date that they became certified on. It can also be used as a really cool tool. Like if you are using it as like an alternative to ISS, it can be kind of their ticket out of ISS, or, however you want to manage that. That's just another idea there that you could roll out. Okay, so I know that's a lot of information. Those are the basic steps, though, on our our teacher dashboard here, and pretty much the features that you're going to be using pretty much on a daily basis there. A couple of other things I want to point out. So we are always available for support. So, I used a couple different educational technology, systems whenever I was teaching, and EVERFI, again, a little biased now maybe, but we do have really quick support. If you ever have reached out to our team, I was actually on this team before, so we are actually all real people, which is kind of rare these days as well. You're not talking to like AI bots or anything like that. But you do have this email address here that you can always reach out to. You can always reach out to me though too. I am the Illinois implementation specialist, so I am happy to help with anything that you might need. I would also highly recommend you check out this scholarships opportunity button there. Students can also just Google EVERFI scholarships. That's going to bring them to the same page. But you can see some of these other we'll say the vaping one because it is an Illinois specific one. Okay, so this is showing more like regional or national based scholarships. There are a couple scholarships that they're a little bit limited on the states that they're offering this to. But you guys in Illinois would have access to these two, the accounting careers one and credit worthy. And then also the one that I mentioned with the vaping course. Okay, so definitely check those out. I did actually have a student whenever I was working. I worked at Englewood STEM and CPS, and I did actually have a student that won the accounting careers one. So it is possible. I've also called to track down students to make sure that they were actually accepting the award. So we are awarding these out every single year. There's also this little cool refer a colleague button that I kind of wish I knew about whenever I was teaching. This allows you to just kind of pass along a note to any colleagues that you think would also find our resources valuable. See this a lot of times, if health teachers are utilizing it, but they see maybe, an econ teacher or just financial literacy teacher could also utilize it. Just passing a word along to them, let them know, might be something worth looking into. And the cool little benefit to you is if you refer a teacher or any educator, does not need to be just a teacher, could be, school counselor across the country, a community-based worker across the country that works with kids like YMCA or Boys and Girls Club. They could also definitely utilize our courses. But if they have not used our resources before, and then after you refer them, they start using, we would then send you a $15 Amazon gift card for every single educator that, would fit that criteria of not having started, and then they get started after you refer them. So there's no limit on that. A couple years ago, we did have like a teacher refer like 30 or 40 of their colleagues. So at least like a third of them, at least like 10 did get started, then, you'd still be going home with like $150 in Amazon gift cards. So kind of a cool opportunity there, just to thank you for doing that. And then here's another way you can contact us through that little chat bar. And that would get you connected with, again, real-time support with a real person during those normal business hours there. Okay, so actually one more piece that I'll mention here that's also kind of a cool little feature that's sometimes a little hidden. If you do go to your My Courses tab and you scroll down, okay, I'm going to be looking for a very specific button that's showing up here on my end. And sometimes it's always going to be sponsor specific. So like in this case, you'll notice this one says request guest speaker. This is also a really cool opportunity because this is going to get you connected with real professionals within the sponsor here, like within like somebody who works for this sponsor. So you could click request guest speaker, then let us know what exactly you are looking for. Like in this case, maybe you teach an accounting career or an accounting course, or even just like a math course, and you want to get your students connected with somebody who is an accountant. You could say workforce readiness, let us know some class periods and days that would work for you. Provide some additional details in here. Just let us know exactly what you are looking for. And then we'll contact you to then arrange that. Typically, it's going to be a virtual visit, but that can be a really cool opportunity to get your students some of that real world experience there as well. So typically, you'll probably notice like a couple showing up on yours. Like I already have 2 there. Again, it's not going to be for every sponsor, but typically you're going to see a couple showing up here. Okay, so we'll come back here to wrap up our time together. We already mentioned a lot of these courses. Again, not going to spend a ton of time within these little course previews, but just so you can, again, just kind of see a little bit more about what these courses look like. These that I'm highlighting, again, some of our most popular ones. Future Smart, really fun if you teach, upper elementary, middle school, even 9th graders would get fired up about this course. So definitely would take a look at that. It allows them to be the mayor of a small town where they're making like different financial decisions that are in the best interest of their town. So I definitely would check that one out. EVERFI Financial Literacy for High School, always a fan favorite there as well, though. We did just revamp it a little bit with teacher feedback this past year. Has 12 lessons in there. Definitely covers most of those basics that you would be covering within a financial literacy or economics focused course there. Courses, as a rule of thumb, our lessons within each course are going to be about 15 to 20 minutes a piece. So pretty quick ones that typically can get finished up within a class period. But our system does automatically save student progress. So even if they like only get through half, need to come back at a later time, they can do so. Again, already mentioned that support. Truly, if you run into any issues, please do reach out. Don't just like sit around, like suffer within whatever tech issue you're having. Let us know. Let us know if there's like just something that we can hop on a video call to like walk through for you, make it a little bit easier on your life. Please do let us know. I genuinely mean that. That's like my favorite part of my job is hopping on one-on-one video calls with teachers to walk through things with them. So I would love to do that with you. Already mentioned the inviting the other colleagues button there as well. Just for the sake of time here, I am going to hop on over here. Again, we do have this Illinois specific scholarship link. And I'll put that here in the chat as well. Apologize if that is not clickable. You may need to copy and paste it there. But if you did enter in your email address earlier on, I will follow up with all of these links as well. But this is the scholarship that I mentioned specifically just for Illinois students through that vaping course here. Very short application process. I know students always get a little weary whenever you mention the word essay or writing activity sometimes. But it is very short. Really just ask them what they learned, what is a takeaway from the course. So nothing too complicated there within that application. And that would be awarded as a 529 college savings gift card. So can be used for any type of post-secondary education. Does not need to be limited based on a 4-year university or anything like that. Could be used for a trade school, community college, any kind of certificate after school, after high school there too. They could definitely do that. Also have this virtual kickoff opportunity. So again, feel free to scan that QR code. That just means I would hop on with a group of your students to help them get started. This is specifically looking at our vaping course, especially for Red Ribbon Week. And so I will would be happy to do that if you'd like. We can also record that session if you want to show it to other groups of students later on. What better time to use our resources than being right here within Red Ribbon Week here. So if you are still planning that for your school, our resources would be great to be able to utilize that. Okay, hopefully you're able to kind of ponder on these different questions here, thinking through which courses you plan on using with your students. When do you plan on having students get started? Are your classes set up already? If you need any help, again, please reach out. And as I'm talking, if you all want to go ahead and put in there into the chat, feel free to let us know which course maybe kind of stuck out to you, which one you see as being the greatest need in your school building. I would love to hear that. Okay. Just again, thinking through here where we're at. Hopefully we've kind of started moving away from 1, maybe a 2, maybe 3s here. But I hope you all are able to take away some of the skills that we have equipped you with today and our platform equips you with. And hopefully you have a little bit better grasp on what we have to offer here at EVERFI. Feel free also, again, anybody watching the recording, anybody on here live, feel free to book a meeting with me anytime that you would like. And this is really just at your convenience. So I'm going to put this also here into the chat. So that is my calendar link where you can book a meeting with me at any point. Could be, I have 15-minute, 30-minute. I think I even have a 45-minute time slot in there. So feel free to just let me know how I can help. Always happy to do even PDs if you're an admin or maybe a department lead and you really want to get some training to other colleagues too. Feel free to book a meeting through my calendar link that way. Also, just throw on my email address there if you all would like to reach out or if there's anything I can do to help. Feel free to do that at any point.
All right. I think, is there anything else that you're covering today, Darren, or is it Q Linda time?
Yeah. Yep. Q Linda. I was about to say, to move on to the questions part there.
Yeah, of course. So right now it looks like we don't have any questions in our chat, but I thoroughly enjoyed listening in on today's session because these are such essential skills for our students to be learning. And sometimes it's really difficult to know where to go to get resources that are free, that are easy to access, and that have some actual researchable kind of like methodology behind it and isn't just like something that you randomly find online and you're like, I hope this is good and real.
Yeah.
And so this is a wonderful resource for teachers to get started having those conversations with their students and to get them those like real life skills beyond subject matter. This applies to their lives, whether they're students who love English, students who love math, students who love science. They're all going to need how to know to build budgets and to protect their mental, physical well-being, all of that stuff. So really cool information. I hope that everyone really benefits from these resources.
Awesome. Thanks, Linda.
Yeah, of course. Of course. And everyone in the chat saying like, thanks so much. It looks like you dropped another link in there for a drive. Do you want to
Yeah.
explain kind of what that is?
Yep, absolutely. So that is just a little folder that I put together specifically for Illinois. So it's going to have standard alignment guides in there. Also has a little speedy PD. So like, again, I understand the life of a teacher, any type of educator. If you don't really have time to like hop back on a video call, that's going to be a 15-minute recorded video. So you can access that at any point, pass it on to colleagues. It's going to give you kind of just like a general overview, a little bit quicker version than I gave you today. But if you need, just some help with reviewing one of the steps that we mentioned, feel free to do that in kind of like a shortened capacity. But again, standard alignment guides, getting started guides, those are all going to be linked in there.
Beautiful. That's very, very helpful. So yeah, I see no more questions in the chat here. Just a lot of people extending thank yous for being here and for sharing. So I think with no further ado, it's about time to wrap up. So I'm going to go ahead and hope that I see all of you on a future webinar. And again, thank you to Darren and Cam for being here today.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you hopefully in the future.